Welcome, guys, to the SBN Network podcast. I'm your host, Steph, and with me is...
I'm Scott.
Yes.
And I'm Scott. We know how to do intros now.
This is a podcast where we take some deep dives into some wonderful artists and kind of look at their account in a different way, which is always a little bit positive, a little awesome, and you guys can enjoy their accounts with us.
And now that we've gotten more professional, I try not to say any dumb stuff.
Mm-hmm. And I try to at least always end on a good note.
There it is.
It always scares me when it pops up. So I'm like, is it gonna go?
Welcome,
all right,
MJ.
Yeah, welcome, MJ. Welcome to the podcast. Thanks for coming on.
No, I appreciate it. Good to be here. Morning to you.
Yeah.
Almost afternoon to you. Afternoon to you, Scott.
Yeah, we're afternoon. Yeah.
It's 10:30 here, which is not too bad.
1:30.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, we're in the same time.
We're in the same time zone.
Yeah.
We are not far from each other at all, which still cracks me up. I think it's only because of COVID that we haven't gone on a shot or something. I swear. It's when I realized how close you were. I was like, gosh, this is so stupid. But yeah, we live in weird times now. So.
Yeah, I mean, whatever. I have a big fenced-in backyard, and we can stand 6 feet apart.
That's true. We can stand 6 feet apart. It's actually, I'm probably gonna get. I just got the from my hospital. I got sent an email about getting vaccinated soon. So there's opening in the hospital. So I'm gonna go do that probably. I don't know if I'm gonna. I don't know which one I'm getting. I don't really care. But my whole family is vaccinated. So my sister works in the medical field. She was vaccinated January 2nd. It was she was done. My mom is a cancer survivor, so she got it really early on. My dad is older and has some health things and whatnot, and he worked at a place that just happened to be like, hey, you're one of our older employees, do you want to get it? And he was like, yeah, sure, that would be great. So they just gave it to him, and I'm the only one just floating around right now, just going all right, well, I'll get it when they let me. So
yeah, I mean, that was my thing too. I mean, I'm here all day with the kid anyway. It's give it to somebody else who needs it when I need it.
That was my logic too.
Yeah.
I'm a relatively healthy 35-year-old. I'm there's no reason for me to be breaking down the doors, give me the vaccine. I'm there's a ton of elderly people and sick people out there who could definitely use it.
I'm sorry, my son's alarm is going off.
Oh my gosh. What's his alarm?
It's his lesson alarm.
Oh.
Yeah. So that's his afternoon lessons that
during the week and whatnot.
Yeah, I don't know why we don't have it turned off on the weekends. My wife's philosophy, which works, is no. So if we're homeschooling, it's 7 days a week.
Oh my goodness.
Deal with it. So then when he goes to school, he'll be like, "Oh, this is actually much better than the house."
He'll be like, "I hate that place."
Yeah. Please, yes.
I love going to school.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
That's funny.
MJ, I don't know where Steph wants to start here, but I'm gonna just go ahead and go straight into this because I have a question, because I know other people wonder. I actually sort of already know, but I want you to talk about it. Your handle is truly one of my personal favorite handles.
It's my favorite too.
Toy photography community. It is. I mean, my wife even knows it. She knows your handle, and she is not a toy photographer. Doesn't collect toys. Your handle is so perfect, and it makes me laugh every time I see it.
Yeah, thanks, man.
It doesn't get old. Talk about it.
I mean, I wish I had some big elaborate story. I struck gold, I feel but honestly, I had a personal page that was just my name for a while, Matt John or whatever. That's what I went by in the kitchen for many years, and so that was just my personal page, and then changed it to Gun Plus Chef, and then decided to go more into just toy photography. And when I was like thinking of the name, like it was just a late night really, and I wanted to keep the chef aspect because that. And then I really was just kind of like searching for like something that was like nostalgic, because most people that's playing with toys, like you can tap into the nostalgia, like you might be on something. And then like Chef Toyardee just hit. Like, I mean, I grew up eating Chef Toyardee, and I'm like, oh my god, yes! Like, tell me no one has this. And it was available. And then before, I think probably like 2 months before I ever even posted a photo on there, like I had thought of the name and then just set it up, and was like, I have to do it, even if I don't ever post a picture, just because I need that name.
Yeah.
And
it's so good. Your handle is so good, it makes me want to change my name. That's how good your handle is.
No,
I'm just it's so good.
I love yours. You kidding me?
So freaking good. I love it, man.
No, yeah, I appreciate it. I got lucky, but it's a good one.
It is. Like Chef Boyardee is like a staple in my house. Like I think my brother used to eat it out of the can cold. Like so, like he was like a big beast.
I love it, but
yeah,
not that much.
No, Scott's like yummy.
I will still eat it cold. I have eaten it cold.
Like right out.
It comes out like the perfect like cylindrical shape. Yeah. And just start going for it, or eat it right out of the can. Like if I'm like sleeping in the truck or something like that, and we do like a camp night. Oh man, grab a few cans of those. Like, it's such weird food. I'm not gonna lie. Chef Boyardee is not. We're clearly not sponsored by Chef Boyardee. Let's talk about that for a second. I'm not gonna make fun of it.
No copyright.
But yeah, it's like oh god. But it is a weird food. Like the sauce doesn't really taste like normal sauce. The pasta is like a very different.
You can't recreate it.
No,
it's like so odd.
One of a kind. I mean, one of my guilty things is like watching just like weird food videos, and I've seen ones where they like gelatinize the Chef Boyardee stuff and then like put it in like pound cake molds,
Oh no!
Slice it and like serve it up like that. I'm like, are you kidding me?
That's so good.
Atrocious salad.
God, people are so weird. I love it. I love it. So
my
much.
daughter's been watching a lot of like food shows and everything like that, and she'll tell me about all these weird like gelatin things and stuff that's going on. I'm like, why do people do these? But I guess they're like,
I mean, it kind of it mirrors what we see sometimes in the toy photography stuff in the community, is like trying to stay relevant. I saw a lot, especially in New York, when the food scene is just like it's this constant like, new toy. I got to have it. And, that was something that I would always tell cooks is like, focus on the basics a little bit before spending all of your money on this equipment. You know what I mean? I see a lot of that kind of, in
like a trendy idea that
exactly.
up and then all of a sudden everyone wants to do it. I know.
And then it fizzles away and it's forgotten.
I think that's the nature with creative fields, and like being a chef is such a creative field. It's an art in of itself. And when you're dealing with any sort of art, when you're creating something, trends can sneak in and become just just ridiculous
take over.
investing parasites that like it's
100%.
They don't stop. And it's the same thing with camera gear and
the figure of the day or something like that.
And and I think like the companies too, they all do great and this and that, but like, they feed off of that as well. And, for lack of a better term, take advantage a lot of times. And then us as the artist, quote unquote, then gets confused by it and wants to be the guy who gets the Hasbro Fan Fest box. And it's like, you start comparing yourself to everybody else, right? It's like, that's happening this week. You know what I mean? It happened to me just the other day. It's like, wow, box, man, come on, send me that thing.
Send me a box.
It's what it is, but like, it's just funny how, it seems to kind of entrap you a little bit.
It does.
I'm gonna throw up the
first and
slideshow.
Ooh,
yeah.
Fun.
What you guys didn't just see me do is putting the underscore between Chef and Toyardee and everything. That's what I was just like.
I love this part of the podcast has become.
I like the first and latest, basically.
Mhm.
That's neat. I forgot
Yeah.
about this.
So I gotta ask though. So this photo here, was this actually like your first post? Have you done any archiving or anything like that? Is this truly like the first thing you posted on Chef Toyardee?
So on Chef Toyardee page, there was one post before this, but it was literally just like the rubble there. I mean, it was almost like a diorama builder's post.
Okay.
Mhm.
Because I didn't know what I was going to do. Because I mean, Steph, you both know that I like make stuff, but like
Mhm.
that was also going to be part of my page when I first started too. Was
Okay.
like predominantly trying to do things for people, but then I realized that in the beginning I was in over my head. Now a little bit less so, but like I had one picture just showing the display basically, and then this photo
Gotcha.
followed by another one that was, I believe he's like standing by a wall,
Mhm.
and which was kind of a same day setup continuation or previous scene.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think there was like a lot of 3, which Scott would be proud of you for having 3 of them
Yeah,
in a
yeah.
row.
I try to do that anyway, just because I think it looks a little bit better and
Mhm.
it gets a little bit out of my system being able to take 3 shots.
Mhm.
Mhm.
It's
But yeah,
so
that was
photography wise, I want to point out, I know we talked about it a little bit. There's other people who do it, but I'm just you specifically. I want to talk about this. You shoot with what, a phone, iPad Pro? Like, what is it that you use?
this was on an iPhone 6.
Okay.
I have an 11 now.
Okay.
Yes.
Um, but yeah, this was on a 6.
Okay.
And the lighting on this was, I believe, the ray that's coming from like the top right or the top left rather. I think that's from my window. That,
Okay.
Mhm.
that looks natural. I believe that was. And then the bluer light was with like a cheap like flashlight that I had. I think
Okay.
like a little LED magnetized light.
Yeah.
And then I think I used atmosphere aerosol on that.
Okay. Were you this is again, it's really interesting for you because you were a chef and then you kind of started doing this. Was there a pretty clear defined split between like you kind of got away from being a chef and this is kind of how you filled your time, or was it like overlapping? Was there, like how was it
Oh,
weird?
yeah, no, it was. So when my son was born, I
Mhm.
was co-owner of a restaurant in New York, and yeah, I mean, it wasn't necessarily going swimmingly, but we were floating. Um, but after it had already been like 18 years, I think, professionally in the kitchen. So like once he was born, I decided basically I had no plan, but like I knew that I wasn't going to be the chef that I always saw that like never saw
Mhm.
kids, complained about it in the kitchen. And I realized that the time I had spent was good. I missed my career, but I would miss my kid more, I think, down the road. And
Mhm.
so, I just stopped and did more private stuff, which that was overlapping with my professional career.
Okay.
So I like kind of used that as my go-to. And yeah, really at that point I had tried to move to Rhode Island and work at a spot, but it didn't really work out. And then came to New Jersey and like did basically for the past 2 years now, like the stay-at-home thing. And that was probably like a month or so before starting this page. Sorry about that. Like a month or so before starting the page, and yeah, I just kind of, I don't know, man. I was looking for artistic outlet. I didn't realize that my need for cooking and
Mhm.
doing what I was doing was like fulfilling this artistic side of me the way that it was. You know what I mean? And so like once that was taken away, it was actually like a very rough like 8 months, to the point where it's like, oh man, I might need therapy. Like
Yeah. Well, food
I'm
is a
gonna need to talk to
necessity. Like,
somebody about this like job.
if food
Um,
throws you off a little bit, I think being a chef, a cook, like a creative person like that, it throws you off because it's a part of life. Eating is a part of
Mhm.
oh
life.
yeah,
You need it to survive, and but you forget the fact that it's still a creative process. it's not, you're not just cooking to survive, you're creating food to make people happy and give people enjoyment the same way an artist would create something, or a movie or a painting or whatever.
Oh,
So
absolutely.
I think when you're in that world, I think the tendency sometimes is to forget that it is a really, really, really aggressively creative process, because you're like, oh, well, I'm feeding people. This is what I do. I give people food. So it's when you probably stepped away from it, like you said, you it must have felt odd, like not
Yeah,
constantly creating and like,
yeah, like a huge
hustling.
void, you know. And like
Yeah.
I still played guitar, you know. I mean, I still
Mhm.
play guitar pretty much daily, but like, you know, that was there, but that had always been there. So, you
Yeah.
know, like, I had started writing more and was working on another page, which I'm still kind of, you know, dabbling with. But like, yeah, I was writing
Mhm.
more and doing things. But honestly, like, got into the Gundam world to do like stop motion, basically.
Ooh.
After like putting in, you know, several hours on a kit, I was like, yeah, no, I'm not going to move this around and have something fall every 10 minutes, you know. So at that point, a buddy of mine, goes by Gundam Nerd, but he was like, dude, you have to check out like the ACBA world. He's like, it's
Mhm.
everything you want to do, but with toys, you know? And he was just like, but do me a favor. If you get on a session, don't bring the bullshit. He was like, you got to do it. Don't put it on a desk, you know, don't just like put it in your yard, like, and everything be out of whack. Like, take your time, make a good shot,
Mhm.
you know, and like, he kind of just like lit this fire. And I checked it out and then realized that the community was the most open, you know, group of
Mhm.
artists that I think I'd ever been around. So I was like, wow, this is
Yeah.
dope.
I spent
It's
the
funny
time
too,
around a
because
lot of creative people, and you're
yeah.
100% right.
But like even the added stress of having a new child too in your life, like and then you give up your creative outlet, like it's kind of nice to dive into something like this,
Oh
especially
yeah.
with ACBA being like it's very intricate, having everything be practical, like right then and there in that kind of moment. So it's a great outlet for parent stress. I would have to
No,
say.
yeah, totally. And you know, it also like keeps you in the playing with toys mode with the kid
Mhm.
too. Because now when he's like, Daddy, let's play, it's like I don't really make as many as excuses as I thought I would. It's like, oh yeah, let's play with the Legos, dude.
Yeah.
Like absolutely. Um, you know, so it works. But
I
it also too in the beginning it was like, you know, I started doing I hated photography, like doing photography like up until 2 or 3 years, like 2 years ago. But I was horrible at it. And it was I realized that like once I could set things up and do it
Mhm.
myself, as you were saying, it's like, well, the complete control like really allows me to like I can take my time. I'm not just
Yeah.
walking in a park being like, that's a pretty tree, and then take it and 20 minutes later be like, whoa, God, who took that shot? But yeah, it was a justification of some of the purchases I was making as well. Like, no, look, Lauren, because like my wife has she's an artist background, and does like jewelry design and makes mounts
Mhm.
for minerals and things like that, and like just really has an eye for all of that. So once I got her approval, it was like, okay, cool, all right. And so I pre-ordered this. Okay, where are you going with this,
Oh my goodness. I love when like stuff shows up at the door and Devin just looks at me. He's like, "What did you buy?" I was
what
like,
is
"Oh,
this?
like I promise it'll be great."
Yeah, I learned my lesson. It was I played the like put it on my card and try and figure it out game, and then finally it was like, listen, you know, these are the things that I'm ordering. I'm not gonna, you know,
There's
Yeah.
nothing, you can't
no
do
more
that.
hiding them under.
Yeah.
I usually just forget too. I'm like, I don't remember ordering this, but it'll work.
I try not to go that.
The worst part is I make Heather like order things for me, like because I'm serious. I don't really buy stuff online.
Mhm.
It's so funny because like my job now, I order for a giant warehouse, like inventory and stuff, but I won't buy things for myself. Like I use an Amazon account for my job, but I don't have my own personal Amazon account. So it's like it's just one of those funny things. Like I'm always like sending her a message like with a link, like, can you buy this for me? She's like, can you just buy it for yourself? You're an adult man. Just like do it. And I'm like, yeah, but I'd rather you do it. Like it's
That's
so
fun.
weird.
It works. I'm excited for this shot though on here because this Sam, I have this NECA. We also have like the sideshow like plushy kind of one that's like the
Ooh,
figure.
cool.
Yeah. And so this movie actually my kids love too, which I probably shouldn't show them, but they love it, so it doesn't matter.
I've never seen it, to be honest with you.
Really? Oh,
Yeah.
I love this movie.
Have you
And
seen
Steph, I
Krampus?
saw Killer Clowns from Outer Space when I was like your kids.
Oh, yeah, no,
That's fine. So
Yeah,
I'm perfectly normal.
at a younger age.
Yeah. Because Krampus and Trick or Treat are the same people, the same person, or who makes both of them.
Oh, okay.
And so it's kind of like the same vibe. But this one, there's actually not too much craziness in this movie. Killer Clowns from Outer Space is like a totally different. Like back in the 80s, they used to just blow stuff up, and no one put like an actual rating on anything.
No.
But like this one's, it's not too bad. But I was really excited to see it because I don't think a lot of people shoot him. He like pops up randomly on people's feeds every now and again.
Yeah, he was actually given to me by Figure Nerd, a different nerd, my buddy Alex. But yeah, this just randomly showed up one day, and he had been kept telling me to buy it. One day I was in Target and I like walked around the store with it in my hand and was like, no, I'm not going to put it back.
You know, you say Target. I see it at Target periodically, like every once in a while it's there, and I'm just like, I want it, and then I don't buy it. I don't know why. It's not like, I don't know.
Honestly, it is like one of the better NECA figures in my opinion.
It really is.
It's so dope. And yeah, with a little like dark like black wash on it, just to like dirty it up a little bit more. Like this guy's cool. And the accessories too. I mean, I think he's like $30, you know?
Yeah.
Wrong. But yeah, he's a phone to shoot. I actually don't necessarily get into like crazy horror mode too often, so he kind of just sits there.
Sits there in all its glory with a nice tilt on it too. So.
I love looking at this photo because after the last person we spoke with is Sabrina, the queen of like minimalism, just basic bare bones, quick shots, no setup, and you're like, you could not be any more opposite with like very big scenes, very detail, like this and that, and structures and accessories, and like you make a whole world around the character. It's so fun. It's so
thanks. Yeah, this one was actually from the photo I had done before. Was just like the axe that was on the log or whatever, and I had left this sitting on like the table for a while and for like a few days, and was like sitting here. I think I had like just finished lunch with Riker and like turned and looked at it and was like, oh yeah, I have Sam. And then like that night, like put him on there, and it was almost like the Diana Robin was actually like built for him when he was a complete afterthought.
Well, that's what I was just going to say. Is like most of the times when you look at, we're going to look at a bunch of them, but your focus on the environment really absorbing the figures that you're shooting is really rare sometimes. Most of the time when I put a figure out in the forest, it's because the forest is beautiful and I want the figure just to kind of be there to enhance that. You really focus on the subject and like everything that's going around it and build them a world. So it's funny that you said you didn't have this in mind, but it's like, it looks like endless, like you can see into the forest. It's really, really cool.
Well, that's cool, man. I appreciate that. Like a lot of that though is really trying to like, you know, because I do some outdoor stuff, but like try and emulate some of you guys because I'm like amazed at some of the things that I see because like, you know, I swear I don't ever see any like, you know, scale issues and things like that. That like, and again, I'm not saying that that's like a huge deal, but like, there's a way that you tend to make the outdoor photography look like the world that the figure is in, like the kind of I'm trying to recreate because I can't necessarily do it as well outside, you know? But yeah, it's fun, you know?
It really is. And that was I'm definitely not a super comfortable indoor shooter. So the combination of not being very comfortable on my phone at all and not being very comfortable indoors at all was sort of an interesting, like I felt like two of the biggest elements of, you know, trying to accomplish something like this. I was like, I don't feel comfortable with either of these things. Like, it's not even like one of them I could grab. Like, oh God. I'm like,
You didn't have to use your phone.
there's something important about so we've had other people who use their phone, but there's something really interesting about the fact that you do use your phone. It also, for me, the lens type, it feels like it's supposed to be with a phone. I know that sounds like I can't explain it any other way. When I look at your photos, um, it
Hold on.
it makes a lot of sense that it's on a phone. It feels like it was just that was it. That's how it was supposed to be taken. And I feel like if I had tried to accomplish your look with a camera, like just a regular camera, I don't know if it would have worked the way I wanted it to. So I was like, I have to at least try. I had to at least like give myself like that opportunity to see if I could even do it. I didn't know. I like I
Yeah.
said, never really used a phone. So it was like I didn't know how it was going to end up. And I think you were part of the chat, but I know Steph definitely knew. Like I was like getting like pissed. I was like, I can't freaking do this. I can't take a photo anymore. I'm like, what is going on? I like had to put my phone down. I stopped the one night and I just like pushed over the figure like a baby and just like walked away. I was like, I'm not gonna try.
Win.
Yeah, I can't do this. Man, big baby. But it was this was a stretch. I had a blast. It was wild.
I mean,
This
I'm
phone
quite
was so
terrified of the same thing. Like when I eventually get a camera, the learning curve there is going to be. I actually downloaded like a DSLR app on my phone so I can start trying to learn some things.
Get a
You know,
feel for it. This photo is rocking, and I'm not just saying that because it's a Star Wars photo. I know everybody's listening right now going like, of course Scott likes this. This photo is awesome, and this was one of the inspirations for one of my photos that I took, the one that we'll talk about later. God, this photo is good. I love it.
thanks, dude.
I love the texture. I love the fact that you're seeing the texture in the ground. I love the light that fills the archway. I love that it's brighter behind him than it is in front of him. I like where the light ends on the bottom, how you kind of fill the bottom of the frame with shadow rather than the light spot coming all the way to the end.
Yeah.
This is a wicked photo. Really, really, really love it. I love, let's get really hyper detail oriented. I love that the stock of the gun is like right at the top of the sandy wall in the background.
Oh yeah,
You
nice.
start to see the sky behind it. That line just falls right on it. Everything just feels so intentional. Yeah. Steph, please talk about something because I'm going to start going. I'm going to really start digging. And it's going to get weird.
I'm just going to say it's super rad.
Good. That's what I want to say. It's super rad. It's super. Did you make his cape?
Yeah, the cape and his fob there. I like made that, and I think I lost it actually after taking this photo. Which I mean, this is an older photo. Let me just say one thing I do not like.
Oh, I'm excited.
How the cape is like letting too much light shine through.
Okay.
That needed to be darker for me, but the material I used for the actual thing, like.
Do you have the same cape on him still, or have you updated the cape? Have you done a darker?
No, it's still on him. Same one. Yeah, he ain't changing.
Yeah, I still haven't put a real color cape on.
Order another one if I want to do anything different.
Yeah.
He's my guy.
Is this a dio that you have too, like the doorway and everything, or?
Yeah, that's one that I made. I've used that for like several different things. I actually ended up making a door out of like cardboard that looks like cool. That goes in there. But yeah, that was actually, this one's a re-edit from, I think I took it like a year ago, this shot, and I had just kind of finished up the wall, and Mandalorian obviously was high on it. But yeah, that actually, I'm really surprised at how much better I think I got it to come out with the more recent edit. But at the time, I didn't have near as much knowledge as I do now.
We're constantly growing.
But yeah, I'm glad you mentioned like the line and everything where the gun is, because a lot of that, as you're saying, was extremely intentional.
Good. And I had a funny feeling. I think you tend to think that way when you look at your images. You're a very smart photographer. You're not a lucky photographer. And I mean that. Like, I'm not just like
Thanks, man.
BSing you. I've always noticed that about your images. They don't feel lucky. If you know what
No.
you're looking for, when I look at your photos, I don't think to myself like, oh, really lucked out on that one. It's like it feels like there's purpose.
Mhm.
Yeah,
which
appreciate
is
it,
very
man.
cool. I'm curious about your dios because you are a very good maker. You're an awesome when it comes to like scenes and set building and whatnot. What do you use, like the basic like the Home Depot foam to make like these walls, like this kind of stuff, like Tatooine sets, or do you use something else?
Honestly, like these were made from foam from like a TV box.
Okay.
Something like that. Like
Regular.
a lot of the stuff I do, like if I'm making a diorama for someone else and
Mhm.
charging them, then I'll buy the Home Depot stuff just because it's better. You know what I mean? But yeah, no, and all of this is just, scrap material that I will buy the like dry decks, like spackle. It's like paint goes on pink and dries white or whatever.
Mhm.
Um, with this, I just use my fingers and like smear it on there. And then
Okay.
once that dries, I'll do like a sand textured spray paint over it. But normally I'll go through like with my airbrush with black and like hit the corners and kind of like, panel line it, if you will.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I'll hit it with the overcoat and then top coat it basically at that point. But I mean, if you take any of that foam and try and spray paint it, like it's gonna destroy the foam.
It just dissolves.
Yeah.
I learned that. I had no idea. I'd never used foam before, and the first time I tried to do it was with just some stupid. I just needed a block that was the color gray, so I was like, "Oh, I've got this piece of styrofoam. Let me just spray it."
Yeah,
I sprayed it, and the thing
that was
just turned
great.
into like a gooey. I'm like, this can't be good for my breathing right now.
No.
Like I'm just watching it like shrink in on itself, and there's craters forming, and it's like sizzling. I'm just like, I'm probably just took like
Exactly.
Yeah.
Honey, open the window.
I'm really high right now,
Oh
but
my
it was
goodness.
it's interesting, and like I'm always fascinated by people who can create dios and stuff, and again, I try for fun. I don't make a whole lot of time for it, and I should.
Yeah.
But your sets just they baffle me sometimes.
Yeah, thanks, man. I mean, honestly, it like, not working and not really having a ton of money is like, I was actually looking some up before building these. It was like, oh, okay, all right, $180 I can save up for this. And like my wife, being the maker that she is, was like, dude, no, you can make that. Like,
Good.
seriously, like you can make that.
Yeah.
And then
you can make it to your exact specifications.
Yeah,
too,
exactly.
Which is cool.
And
you can do it exactly the way you envision it versus just buying something.
yeah, so it takes up a lot of space.
That's all right.
And I got the so what are you planning on doing with all of this stuff that you're making? And I'm like, I don't know, eBay.
Yeah, exactly. Sell it when you're done with it.
Yeah. No, it's funny because like I have dios that I've been ordering coming in, and I just got a box full of like foam rocks and metal pieces
Oh,
that I got
nice.
from Terraformer because he had a sale on ruins. I'm like, yeah, send me a box of rock pieces. That's awesome.
Yep.
And Devin's face when I opened it was super excited. He was just like, where are you gonna put all these foam rocks and pieces? And I was just like, I don't know yet, but I'll figure it out.
Yeah, you will.
Awesome.
You can't just put them in a Tupperware or anything. You got to find like a good place so they don't get ruined. And like,
Yeah, absolutely.
Getting beat up on
dio
each
storage
other.
is definitely rough.
Mhm.
That's why I build mine from scrap material. Like, and that wall there is just now has like thumbprint, like smashes into the spackle. Like, as long as it's not on camera, I think I'm fine.
There you go.
Gosh, this photo's intriguing.
Yeah.
I really like this one. This is what
This
I
photo is-
based my black and white on.
Yeah, you are really, and one of the ones that we're not going to talk about that I took I try to get the way that you'll sort of highlight edges and stuff with the light, but let the rest of the subject disappear into shadow. So you can obviously tell there's a subject there, but a lot of the detail just kind of vanishes because it's not important. This is the opposite of what you sometimes do. It's like this is your version of your minimalism, and then you've got your really over the top scenes, and then this is like this is the basics, this is the character, this is the thing, this is the subject, the end, black background.
That's actually really cool you mentioned that because actually, like, I wanted this to have that, like the negative boards that you can draw on. I don't know how to turn this sound off. I'm sorry about the beeping. But like, where you can like etch out like the negative, like I wanted it to kind of have that appearance. You know what I mean? So that's really cool that you kind of mentioned
So
that.
cool. It's really cool. I really like this one.
Yeah, this I was trying to get him to balance there, but admittedly I had to put a sticky tack under his foot. But
I would hope you did. If you were able to balance, I would have just been floored. Like
he was for a minute. And I'm like, all right, I got this.
I can do this.
I think you guys are the first I've even told, so it's not like I was doing it for any reward. Like I was being stupid. I'm like, can I do it? And he like went to fall. I caught him once. Was like, no, sticky tack.
Yep.
No. You don't want those to hit the ground. The mezcos.
At the time, he was my only mezco as well, and he was like my grill figure at the moment. So.
This was your first mezco?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
You got the Lone Roach as your first one? That's awesome.
Yeah. I'm pretty lucky with the ones I've been able to pull off with mezco. Minus like I still want the pink skulls, but I made some.
Do you have the new Baron Benz, the one that's like the different color variant? I just noticed that it came out. All I want is the heads. So like,
the heads are all right. I ended up making like a maskless head sculpt or whatever. Like I used something else and repainted it, so like that works for me. But I don't know. I wasn't into the idea of buying two figures with colors. I'm like, at that point you're the rich guy with the 3 BMWs for no reason. Like, oh, this one's blue. I mean, it looks cool. I do like the way the matte and shiny black work together and orange stuff. But no, save my money for other things. I had just like finished off paying off the Hazard Squad Commander, and then was planning on getting the Black Skulls. So pass on there. And he's actually one of the only mezco that I've like considered selling, like lightly considered selling. But I just bought this I just got this like really cool poncho from GPS Lot that I want to mimic the Krieg, because I didn't buy a Krieg either. And so like throw a poncho on him to do a little play on that figure. But
that would be very cool.
Yeah, so bring some new life back into old Baron.
Is mezco your favorite toy line?
It's my favorite, like, high-end toy line, I guess, for sure. But also, like, 3A, when Ashley Wood was there, like, that shit was just extremely, extremely nice. Mainly for the clothes. I mean, I'm a sucker for soft goods.
Yeah.
Like, some of the things, anybody who collects mezco can agree that some of their pricing is a little, like, inconsistent, where you get, like, a super dope Gomez for $85, or something like that, and then other figures are a little more expensive for some other reason. But but yeah, those. But I mean, even Hasbro, really, like they're killing it with some, for the base price of those figures. It's like, that movie Deadpool is one of the best figures I own, and it happens to be a Marvel Legend.
Yeah, their game has just been unbelievable.
It's also inconsistent as well.
Yes, the consistency is. There was there was that period like when Hasbro had just kind of taken over for Toy Biz, or Toy Wiz. I always forget what they were before. I have those figures. Where I feel like it got a little weird and a little rocky for a bit, and I couldn't quite figure out what they were doing. And even the early Black Series figures were a little like what is happening with their faces? Like I couldn't quite understand it. But man, lately it's like there's not a single figure I feel like that's come out recently where I wasn't like, oh yeah, I could do something with that. Yeah, I could do something with that. Like not that I need to buy it, but it's like I'll see it and there are definitely figures from like the early days of like Marvel Legends and Black Series where I was just like, I don't care if I ever have that.
Yeah, where like chameleon eyes.
Yeah, chameleon eyes and like paint apps that are just like
here.
Yeah, just awful.
But yeah, with the new like facial like stuff that they're doing with these figures, like I forget what the software or whatever it is that it's called, but yeah, it's really making a difference. You know, they could. I think as with any company, like you need better female bodies. You know, you need like, you know, I think that there should be a little more diversity. You know?
Oh, agreed.
The other day, I'm like, man, I you know, he was bringing me some stuff over, and I'm like, do you have like any black head sculpts? Like, I need like variety in my figures, and I'm gonna have to make it. You know, like unless it's Luke Cage or something like that. You know?
They have some really good Mythic Legion ones that are in variants. Really? So yeah.
I'm trying my best not to even go down that path. I'm pre-ordering Goblin at this point now. I'm like, all right, I gotta pre-order a Goblin.
Because I think on eBay you can buy just like people piece them out pretty good and it's pretty decent, so you can find some of the sculpts. But there's like a angel one that's of color, and then also I have one that has butterfly wings. That she's awesome. She's got the coolest dreads I've ever seen in my life. So it's just like there's some really cool variants, and then you get like the shorter ones, and then like the different sizes and stuff for that line has been very awesome. I'm actually very surprised.
Yeah, and I didn't realize the price point going through them with their like pre-orders and their like side sales. It's pretty incredible. I've only known it from like I saw them once at like a toy fair that was in New Jersey, and finally got to hold a box and was like, oh my god, these are amazing. But I think they were selling for like $65-$70 or something there, and I wasn't gonna do it. And then check Big Bad, and it's the same thing, or a little bit more. And then once I heard that Legion's like does it for the $39, you're like, no, that's actually quite affordable for what they are too. I mean, they're up there with some of the like better quality.
I don't have any Mythic. What is the scale on Mythic Legions?
Like 6 to 7 inch.
So
I mean,
kind of like the Diamond Select ones.
Yeah.
All right.
I think Mezcos are even taller than the Mythics.
Yeah, I mean, I think Gomez stands about this height, but like, hold on, let's see. Scott, so like.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
But yeah, I mean, they're a good size. That's another thing though with the indoor shooting, like. Now great. Now I have to build something completely different for these guys, you know? That's why the first one I did was like definitely wanted to do outside. But I think I want to just kind of leave those to the more natural world shots, because there's something about those figures to me, and like mixing the two, you know?
Yeah. I get that.
I want to know about this one.
Oh my gosh.
I love the fact you guys are picking like some of the earliest work I did. That's great.
This is fun. This is so out of character for you too.
Dude, I still go back and look at this picture and, you know, have that feeling of, man, like I'm still so proud of it. And it was such an early one that like I didn't really have that big of a following, you know, and like it didn't, you know, do as well as I wanted it to, I guess. And like, and this is one of the ones that I'm like, I really want to revisit this shot, like maybe with a different Lego that's not in that. Like, I wish I had like a Lion Witch and Wardrobe,
yes,
like that, you know, because this whole thing was Narnia to me. Yeah, this was fun. This was Flower through my sifter.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and so like um, at the time I had a shutter remote that like allowed me to just hold it down and it would just continuously run. Now I have to tap it individually. So like the rain scene you see now, I'm literally just like as fast as I can.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, this one was like one of maybe 150, and I got like the perfect little splatter that I wanted off of his bottle cap. Little,
That's always the joy of working with any sort of like practical effects, whether it like sand, flour, water, whenever you're dealing with that, it's like you have to take so many photos just to hopefully
Mm-hmm.
get like
yeah,
one that kind of works. It's
yeah, and
or even
especially
like
like
smoke, it's the same thing.
on the iPhone 6 too. I mean, the shutter speed is like it's not very rapid, even when
No.
down. So, and also too, this was before I, understood the concept of like backlighting, and especially with the snow scene. Had I had a light hidden in the background shining towards the camera, the snow would have been a lot more predominant. And so, like now that I've learned those things, it would be nice to revisit this one, maybe have a little bit, some more footprints and something else, coming up out of the snow. And then the little balls, actually, I just took styrofoam and pulled up the individual balls and like put those down to kind of have a little snowball effect.
I had a little extra to it. And those are like just branches, right? Because I do the whole time. I'll like grab pieces of bushes outside of my yard and bring them inside to do indoor stuff.
Yeah, we had just trimmed the tree that week.
Did you glue them down to a base, or is it like
I shoved it into styrofoam?
I was going to say you just pushed it down.
Yeah, just a thing of styrofoam, just shoved them all in. Yep. This one the one in the closest front to the right might be propped up against something. I can't remember. That one looks too big to have been shoved into the styrofoam.
I've done it where you put one too many in there and it just like cracks.
Oh, yeah. And then when there's flour all over it, that's not a good recipe.
Yeah, I've come home from like the forest. I'll bring the flour out there with me to try to like get it all done out there practically. And like I'll be like coated in flour, dirt, leaves, like stuff in there, and like all crazy. But it's so weird to be outside, just like trying to like get the flour to look right, and like or even anywhere. Sure. Yeah,
especially like so when you're doing outdoor stuff, how often do you bring like extra lighting? Like, do you bring lighting with you as well, or are you working strictly natural?
I bring lighting with me now. Like this last, I think, year and a half since I've gotten my panel lights. Nozerain Richie gave me an idea for these cheaper ones that were on Amazon, and so he's like, just look up this because you'll be able to buy more of them. But they've been game changers for like the extra, like you're saying, the backlighting. You never think about it. Even with natural light coming down, you're still having that extra control again on your environment, even outside, is helpful.
Yeah, I mean, that's something that when I try and do outdoors, like I'll always bring lights with me. I'm still trying to figure out, like, especially with these Loom Cubes too, the ones that I have, like they're in an indoor environment, but when they're battling the sun, it's like you're really having to get like super close to the sun to cast into sort of defensive light. But I'm still trying to figure out how to like work those, work when lighting in the natural. But I think maybe like in shaded areas, or like room with a weird one to,
an overcast day is your best friend.
Yeah, right. And that's something I'm starting to learn too, because when it's too hard, especially with the phone and how it picks up the light outdoors, like man, if the sun's really hitting, you just have this like super bright, like blinding light on the plastic that doesn't.
The good
work.
thing too is you can make your own you can make your own shade because they're so small. Like this is a bigger deal. Like when you're doing like full-sized humans, you sometimes these people have to actually bring like tents to set up if you're trying to create a shaded, even light area. But
absolutely.
us, all you need is like I've gotten to a point sometimes where I'll just take like my camera bag and just hang it in front of where the sun is coming from just to create enough shade in that one area that I'm working. And then you can use like, a piece of paper or something just to reflect a little extra light into one side or the other. We have it much easier. Like, have you ever watched some of these big fashion shoots and stuff? Because that was kind of what I had wanted to do back in the day. they'll bring these gigantic tents and with lights underneath and stuff when you have to go out to like a beach scene or something, because
Yeah,
you can't just go at like golden hour. You have to go at a time when it might be noon and the sun is right there. um and so they'll bring like gigantic tents and trucks
yeah.
and stuff and set up like a faux shaded area, but we can kind of manufacture that ourselves. I've even made
I've
heather stand
yeah.
in front of things, so
I've drug branches down because we have a lot of trees, so they fall. And so I've like created like these like weird, like looks like a hut. It kind of
Yeah,
looks like I'm homeless.
lean-tos for you.
Yeah, just so I could get that kind of. But I like the light coming in between like the branches, like
Oh,
in the
yeah.
background and stuff. So like it's neat to be able to have that.
yeah.
I never tried my camera. Like I have a backpack. I might as well try
Yeah.
that too because it's like it'll be cool.
Yeah, because I mean that's the thing, like I mean I'm sure you guys are as well a lot, but like I'm super inspired by like walks that I'll have in the woods and things like that. And like, one of the biggest things I notice, especially like this time of year, is, how when the sun is coming through the trees, you do have the way that the light breaks up and all of these things that like we take for granted in our shots, that like actually are out there in every mental picture. But like but yeah, it's neat to, like Scott was saying, to do that in the little 12 by 12 space that you're doing it in.
Mm-hmm. This one now.
Oh boy.
Man,
Well, I need to, like, obviously this photo is fantastic, but something I want you to talk about is the way you do those smoke explosions. Like you're good at doing like your behind the scenes stuff. So like I've seen kind of how you do this, but like you've got these great things that you do with either like you've done it with paper, you've done it with like almost like foamy material where you'll light up these materials and create just such an awesome aesthetic. It's like
yeah, thanks,
so
man.
cool.
Yeah, these explosions actually, a tip from buddy Echoes Dorkton. But I saw one day he just had these little solo cups and had glued the cotton balls to it. And I'm like, wait a second, there's one like you're making a blast like an explosion from that. And he's like, yeah, man, I saw this like quick tip and it actually works pretty well. And so I immediately stole the idea. And I wasn't going to go purchase orange solo cups, and it was pretty much divine intervention. And like the following day after finding this out, like my neighbor had some friends over and they're like, well, I found these orange solo cups. I've never seen these before. Y'all want a drink? And I'm like, 2, please. And like kept the cups and then made these basically that night.
So
But yeah, you just glue cotton balls to the orange solo cup and then I like airbrush the highlights, but you can just, hand paint black highlights on it or whatever.
And do you just put a lume cube inside of it then?
You just set the cup over the top and
Yeah.
I mean, this shot it works really, really well because I'm so focused on the foreground that like it's blurry, it gets hidden, you can barely see the figure. I mean, if you're doing close up, you kind of it's not necessarily as picturesque, I guess, but like
you got to hide the imperfections a little more.
Yeah, but it also once the light's on there too. I mean, the biggest thing about a shot like this is like the glare off the side of the building. Like I can see the lines in the cardboard, things like that. It's like there's kind of no stopping that light at that point. But I mean, the blast effects do work really well, and plus with his blue shirt and the bright orange in the back, that for me is like an instant no-brainer.
Well, your color in general, and I know I commented this on the photos that I was posting today. You were another example of a photographer we had on here where not shooting in color felt almost wrong because color is such a plays such a part in your images. They are such bold colors. You mix your lighting very similar to Risha, who was on. Like you do this like blue against orange, red against greens, and all these like really cool mix-ups. And it's cool. It's very you. It's very distinctly MJ. And it was funny shooting in black and white. Like, because I might send you guys actually the color photos later because I found myself trying to kind of mix tones and colors when I was doing it, and I was like, wait, this is going to be black
Yeah.
and white anyway. What am I doing? Because I had like a little blue in the back, and then there was some purple coming from here, and it was, yeah, I love the way you play with color in your photographs. I really, really do.
Yeah, thanks, man. And speaking of the black and white, like if I ever do a photo in black and white, like it's very rare that I'll shoot it in color and then edit it to black and white. Like that might happen. I mean, I don't really think of it that way. I don't try and take a color picture and then edit it out. So like when I do a black and white shot, I completely set it up differently. I don't think of the color spectrum in the same way. It's more about, harshness and contrast or whatever.
Yeah.
So like that's why I think I do it so rarely and only with like Nosferatu mostly is because like he is the perfect figure to shoot in black and white, and it's a pretty fun experiment to do like a week or two of only shooting in black and white to understand like how, I think it made me a better light caster in the color world. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It made me like think about it a lot differently.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's black and white's a completely different.
Well, in classical photography, they talk about that with black and white and understanding the zone system and medium gray to, dark black and light white. And like understanding that translates into color. Like knowing that and being able to control your lighting in black and white will make you a better color photographer because of just balance and being able to understand how different colors react to your camera. And it's interesting.
And like gives a different perspective as well. It makes the artist like not necessarily like focus on other things too. We get lost a lot in like, oh man, how can I light up this explosion, right? And like really get the light shining off of Gomez's head here to make him stand out, but like forget the fact that you want to have a little bit of glow in the back by the dumpsters, and you want these other things to kind of like create like the focal zoom,
Yeah. Well, because color is something that you can do that with, and if you take that color away, all of a sudden you just have to do it with the light and the highlights and stuff. So
yeah, there's some really good photographers out there that like a few black and white that I follow. I'm just like, man, like don't ever go anywhere because I need that like little awesome black and white in my life.
How long did it take you to get this set up? I just want to know because like for me, I'd be there for like hours.
Actually, this surprisingly happened extremely fast. But
what's your definition of extremely fast? I think you're lying to me.
40 minutes, maybe.
All right, that actually is pretty fast.
Yeah.
That's not what I was expecting.
But I was expecting about an hour and a half. But from everything else, like the setup happened before I started like shooting or whatever. This was like set up over behind me, not on my table, so it had a little bit more rental time. But I ended up putting just like a Mezco stand is actually holding Gomez, and it was just sitting on the roof to the left behind the pigeon, and so he was just held in that position perfectly fine, and the pigeon already has a hole in it, so that was on a wire as well. And then the cups are just, sitting over a light. And then you can't really see them, but there's 3 pink skulls, the one flying into the stairway. Like he fell a few times. And then the one that's right under and flying backwards against the wall, like a stick in the styrofoam that he's leaning on. So honestly, taking it down and putting everything away was
longer.
Yeah, it's like, but I had this image in my head when I woke up, and it was like if I'm not trying, if it's like completely organic like that, generally the setup happens extremely fast.
Usually pretty quickly.
I'm forcing it. It's like, oh, what am I going to do? Blah blah blah. 2 hours. And my lights aren't charged.
Oh, I hate that.
Like, oh yeah, it's preparedness. It's key.
Like I'm planning on going out today after we get done with this, and I'm thinking I have to charge everything. I have to like get everything ready and packed because nothing's worse than being out in the forest and I forgot my battery and my camera. I had to drive back 30 minutes to like go back out there.
Yeah, I'll tend to charge on days when I'm not even thinking of photography, so that because generally it'll be like something will come to me. I'm like, all right, I have to set this up quickly and like get it, or I'm gonna think of 20 other things and forget. But yeah, that's also generally when my battery dies. It's like I just need this one light here. This will be
perfect. How often do you like take photos like during a week?
Lately, not so often, but all right, so on average, probably 4 or 5 days a week. But like, it also depends on when I'm working on stuff because like I'm working on those wings. I just finished up in the process of finishing up some dumpsters. I like did one for somebody. I finished up mine. I'm gonna like finish up another one for somebody else, and then like other customs. But all of that's just mixed in with lunch and breakfast and dinner and like.
You need to show those wings right now because I want to see them on screen.
Oh, yeah.
I'm super excited.
They're just in resting positions.
They're so cool.
So yeah, I ended up getting like somewhat lucky. So this like plugs directly into the back. You can see it there, right?
Crazy.
So like that plugs in, but I mean these guys will just watch it break.
No.
Will just pop out, and then like the ball peg or whatever goes right in. So, on the camera. But yeah, I was actually super shocked at how the design came together without a lot of hiccups. I mean, it's like some of the swivel's a little loose, but I found that if I just like put a little bit of like super glue on the peg and let it dry, it tightens up the space. But yeah, I mean, these guys like you'll get the full up and down movement. I mean, they rotate. You can then twist the peg and have like the wings go up at an angle. Like they're going to basically do pretty much any position that you would want.
Amazing.
So these are printed, right?
The wings are printed, yes.
The wings are printed. Have you done any casting before, like with like smooth on or anything like that, or have you only ever really done printing?
I haven't done casting. I mean, my wife is like, she knows all about it. She's always just like, why don't you just cast this stuff? I haven't, but I also I think it's just because I haven't. I would love to, because a lot of times I'm like, I just want a million pink skulls, and I don't want
3D print one thing.
Yeah, I mean, like head sculpts and stuff, I don't really print with my printer. I mean, I might for myself, but like really trying to, do it on any scale, just because the detail. I mean, you want like a resin printer for those kind of things. But things like the dumpsters and stuff like that, I mean, they come out really nice and very and stuff. But again, it's also some of the files might be 14 hours and you have one mistake, and then you're sitting there like, wow, that was 12 hours in, and now that's becoming a scrapyard thing, Yeah. But it's not like I have people knocking at my door, So it works pretty well for what I need to do. But the wings, they were like, it was actually I think it was like a little desk ornament, like not at all intended for anything like this. And so like, it actually took a while to get it like cut and scaled and like way to where it would work for the figure. And and then the like, honestly, just using figure stands, because like if it'll hold a figure, it'll hold the wings. So I just like cut a portion of the post that the ball peg would plug into, and then glued that, like epoxied that up inside the wing, and then took another portion of the stand and like put it on the backpack. So then it just plugs it in like it's a stand holder, and you get the movement.
It's so funny because Scott, all I did was send the MJ a message. I'm like, I don't know if this is a real thing, but I have an idea, and I'm going to see, you could say no, but I want to see if you could do this. And he was just like, he's like, that's really interesting. I'll get back to you. And then he like made the stuff, like drew the wings out on a box. He's like, how big do you want these to be? I was like, oh my God.
I feel like MJ is not the kind of person who just says no without doing the research.
Oh yeah, even if I would have said no, I would have made some wings for myself. Come back and go like, yeah, I can do this.
Yeah, that's doable.
Now, there's honestly the only thing I think I've told you that I didn't feel comfortable with was like human head sculpts, but I'm getting to where I want to start acting like that. That the people who pull off like perfect flesh tone on a face on the 112 scale, like are from a different world. I don't understand.
Me neither.
But yeah, no, if you come at me with Icarus wings,
that's what
I'm doing some damn research and I'm making some Icarus wings.
Yeah, I was so excited because I was like, MJ would love to do this.
Yeah, and I have like enough fodder too that it's like, I was trying to figure out like what the backpack was going to be. I was just digging around for something else, and then it's all a perfect backpack. I'm like, oh yeah, this has been sitting here for 8 months. Cut and start gluing, and Gundam runner pieces. They've like saved the day on every custom I think I've ever built. So
very cool.
They come in with the back plug. But yeah, it's normally an idea like that doesn't come together as nicely on the first try for me. So
hey,
it doesn't break. No. No, it's honestly like it's so like easily. It was such an easy design that like even if something did happen, it could be fixed instantly. So it's pretty cool.
So film noir.
This one. Okay, before we even talk about this, have you guys seen the like fan film Casey Jones? It's on YouTube. It's like 45 minutes long, maybe an hour.
I don't think so. Unless it's really older. I don't remember.
I would say probably within the past 8 years.
Yes.
Maybe even sooner. I'm not quite sure. I just found out about it a few years ago. And yeah, they pull off a pretty cool like Casey Jones movie. It's pretty dark and he's like hardcore vigilante. But this is basically a recreation of that movie poster.
So good. It's cool. It's really cool. I still blown away sometimes that you use your phone, but whatever. This is great. This is great. Like the side light, the top light on the subject in the background. How many lights did you use for this setup out of curiosity? Do you remember?
This was 2.
2? I was gonna say it looked like the top light and the side light. I wasn't sure if you had any like hidden back to like kind of halo anything.
And I think this one was I'm trying to remember, but I think it was taken during the day too. So I had to like build up a bunch of stuff to get it as dark as I wanted. Yeah. And then had to also lower a bunch of the stuff in post to like get that silhouette look on Raphael.
I love that.
I love Casey Jones. This is awesome.
The combination of 2 images this one was. Because like it wasn't getting the blur that I wanted on Raphael, but also I mean it worked out better for me to like splice 2 photos together for this, which you wouldn't really think it would be needed.
It worked though.
Yeah.
And that's the thing too. That's something you'll enjoy if you do start getting into like using a regular camera. Is you'll be able to do that without having to splice the images. Like you can get super shallow depth of field with a regular camera that you can't get with the iPhone. And you could create this in one shot, no problem. I think you'll really embrace that. But this is great. His left side of his face goes so dark, and his right side of his face just still all the detail, the brightness, like it's cool. It's really
it's kind of
great. And again, with your being super detail oriented, the geometry of the triangle in the bottom corner does not intersect with the shadow of Raphael in the background. Like that would have been a really easy thing for somebody to accidentally like bleed together, and then there would be no separation between the foreground detail and that shadow. But again, you're a master, and you.
I love you, Scott. Like the fact that you're like mentioning things that I remember. I mean, again, this is an older photo, but I remember like looking in camera and being like, all right, I need to move. I mean, it took forever to finagle his hockey stick into that way to get like the perfect angle, because I wanted the triangle to kind of point towards Raphael, like an arrow pointing towards him. You know what I mean? But like, I mean,
perfect.
And then like the sticks come up and like, you know, like, I don't know. It's like double framing going on here.
Mm-hmm. It's like one of the first things I saw when this photo popped up was the fact that you do have this geometric shape pointing up towards Raphael, but that point does not come in contact with his shadow. Because I mean it. Like if that had happened, I would have been. I'm going to be super dramatic. It would have been devastating. It would have been devastating the photo. But no, it's like
it would have been something I think that I noticed every time I saw it.
Uh-huh. Yeah,
it would have blocked any bit of him.
God, I love it. I love this photo. I really.
You guys are so funny. We're gonna go into the black and white kind of challenge here.
Yes.
And I realized I couldn't find your email because I was searching for MJ and not for Chef Twitter. So I was like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? So I'm really excited that you did Nosferatu too. So I was super stoked on this one. And the fact that this is inside the coffin that comes with it. So this is like the casing on top. So the accessories that Nosferatu comes with, like, you can't downplay how many and how cool they are. So it's like, it's really nice when you get to see them beyond the figure. So like the rats and everything I love this image. So
yeah, he's the best figure that came out last year, in my opinion. I love him so much.
I will say when people talk about how toy photographers sell toys at this point, more than the companies do, I can't begin to tell. If I had to name like the top 3 figures over the past year that have pretty much almost been sold to me because of like figures I never would have wanted, like even thought about purchasing until I saw photographers shoot them, this is one of them. Specifically, you two shooting this. Like, I will tell you, when MJ, I think I may have commented on the first time you posted it. Like, I was like thinking to myself, I'm like, wow, if this was still available to be, I would have probably bought it that night. Like, every once in a while, a photographer will take a photo of a figure that's not on my radar, was not thinking about this. I'm mostly a Star Wars collector. And I just went, can I buy this? Like, I think I can justify this, like, just because of the photos that you guys took of it.
Hear that, man? Go.
Yeah. It's funny. I just mailed this over to Amy to take photos of because she's been asking about it. So I'm waiting. I've been like basically watching her.
Really? Oh yeah. I cannot wait to see what she does with this video.
It's gonna be wild. It's gonna be wild.
Yeah, he is a beast.
Nothing about this looks like a toy. Nothing about it. It is straight up. This is cinematography right here. I love this. Love the.
Yeah, honestly, like you cannot. I mean, again, this is just my highly opinionated ass talking here, but like, you cannot shoot this guy without giving him justice. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, to me, this is one of my favorite, like, old school silent films. Like, there's a lot of just awesomeness with just Nosferatu in general. So, like, almost every shot I do, I feel like I have to try and recreate what it is I remember seeing as a kid. And, like, this actually is probably one of the better ones I've done with that in mind, you know? But, man, yeah, his hand's not even attached to his body. It's just the hand stuck in the door.
Oh my goodness.
That's cool. That was a good idea.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
And like, it actually took a minute to get like the dot perfectly in his eye, like it is. Like that was just like on my living room floor with, again, 2 lights, and this was also shot in black and white.
So good.
I was saying, you even got like the stuff on his face sculpt like so well. It's so good.
Yeah, I was shocked. I was not expecting, especially with the light setup and the way that the phone is. I mean, it doesn't do very well in a super dark environment with all the lights. And yeah, once I saw the detail, like, I didn't have to do a lot of like structure raising or anything like that to get it to stand out. Like, it really, I don't know. This one is
Stands for
probably,
itself.
this one looks least like a toy out of any Nosferatu shot. The rats kind of throw it off because they do look plastic, but they needed to be in there.
They had
Yeah, they're so good. It's just so cool.
so good.
Thanks.
Yeah. I think Scott's is next. You ready?
Is mine next?
Oh
There we
yeah.
go. Yeah, I had to do a doorway. I had to do some shadows. The doorway, you and doorways, I think they go together. It was funny. I was thinking of two things. Actually, there were three things I wanted to have. Not just outside of stylistically, but there were three elements I wanted within the three photos I took. I wanted the doorway in at least one. I wanted a rooftop in at least one, and I wanted sneakers. I know that sounds really weird, but I wanted to make sure that I had a character who was wearing sneakers, and it was the only character I have is Miles Morales, who's wearing sneakers. I don't have any, I don't have a Gomez. I don't have any
Not yet.
cool. Not yet. I don't have any cool like sneaker wearing cool people. And so I was like, well, Miles has his Jordans. I'm gonna put him in there, and I wanted to make sure like you could see his feet. But yeah, had to have. I wanted a doorway shot. I wanted sneakers, and I wanted a rooftop shot. And it was. I will tell you, MJ, this was a wild ride. I had a good time with this because it really, and I know I say this to everybody, but like it stretched me because I was getting real pissed off at my phone. I was like, I was genuinely like, I hate this thing. I hate it. I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, I've taken decent photos of my son with my phone. Like, why is this? It is a different animal. It is truly a different animal. And I give you guys props. And there's a bunch of you like you and Justin and Pete and all these people out there who that is your primary tool. It's wild. It's really wild.
Thanks, man.
Had a really good time with this, but
yeah, I like this too. And I also like, for me, I don't know if anybody else gets this, but like the way that the shadow is on the ground, like the head, it almost looks like an unmasked Miles Morales head to me. It almost looks like he's not wearing a mask in the shadow. I mean, I don't know. That's just kind of what I get.
Yeah, I love that.
But yeah, no, that's I like the shadow on here. Did you make that wall?
Yeah, I made that wall. It's the only wall I've ever made. Yeah, it's the only wall I've ever made. Ever. I've never. It's the only dio I even have.
I've never even seen it.
Yeah, I did it. Like I made it like last year sometime for something, and it was the first thing I ever tried. I had gone to Home Depot, bought a bunch of the stuff, and just started playing in my basement. And yeah, this is it. This is the only one I made. So I was like, well, I guess it's the doorway I'll be using because I do not have time to paint a new doorway. So
yeah, well, it looks good.
It's a good homage too for your first time doorway.
My first doorway.
Yeah, it's a perfect. Now, mine is gonna be a little bit different because I was trying to focus on the lighting technique. I gotta get over here. If it's gonna let me do my thing.
Rad
and so
as hell.
I was trying to get it more focused, and I think I'd flipped the lighting on this because I was in the phone, it looked darker, and then when I pulled it up, I was like, that is not what I saw in camera. Because again, I'm not used to using the little apps and stuff in the phone.
Yeah.
But I am definitely a fan of it now because I'm like, there's so much in there that I didn't know that was available in an iPhone. I usually just use the normal, hey, it says photo, I'll take it. But there's all those other options. So I was really excited to do a Mezco shot and like try to get it looking like ethereal a little bit, because your Gomez shots, like the one where he's like on balancing, is like, to me, the coolest thing for my eye is like the light, the way it like kind of frames everything. And for those figures, you definitely do like really, like, I can't say it enough. Like you give that figure everything for the shot. Like you definitely focus on what the intended toy is. And it's really
cool. Yeah. Thanks.
Well, Steph, you got his contrast. You even have, I don't know what is in the background, but visually,
That's my
to me,
garage.
it's a cityscape though. To me, that is like an MJ like cityscape where he has buildings in the background and stuff like that. That feels like that to me. You have the sharp edges around the character. You see the details because of the shadows. You see the waves in the fabric. No, this is as solid as it gets. So I love it.
Yeah, do you find that with Baron a lot of times though, it's like you'll have an idea and then like you'll go to mess with him and you're like, it's still just, I mean, there's so much with him that like
his toes don't point.
Yeah, exactly. Like there's little things that it's like, crap, I can't necessarily pull off exactly what I want to, you know?
It's so funny that you say that too, because like every time I pick him up, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna make him do like an underwater dive is what I was gonna go for, and then I'm like, you can't move.
Yeah,
so,
it's a little weird.
They don't pivot. It's just like a foot. Like,
well, yeah. So go ahead.
It just goes up and down, but in like the toes, because like Gomez is like fully, you can move him around and do everything. So the skulls too, they're like, I did like ice skating photos with my pink skull, so it was like super. But I mean, he's really cool. He's full soft goods all the way up and everything. So it's like, I think it's neat. But I was noticing that today because I was like, I can't really point his feet.
Yeah, from a photographer's standpoint, especially with as many cool things I think as we all have in our collection, like dope figure for the shelf, but like one that like, you get a few good shots out of him and he's done his job.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, this one's, I like this, and I definitely like the like vocal blur. That's nice.
Agreed.
This is just like a piece of glass that I have that I randomly use if I want to do like ice anything in my garage.
For the bottom.
Mm-hmm. This is funny.
I need a piece of glass.
Oh, this one.
That's a fun one. That's a fun one.
This one actually, I won a capture for Cube's Loan Cube contest with this photo.
Really?
Very cool.
This is what put me on their radar and basically had them start working with me.
That's cool. That's really cool. I love this. I like this image. Obviously it's a battle droid, very exciting for me. I love that shadow against the wall. I think it's so good. I love that you stuck a little skateboard in there. It's just so fun. It gives it some humor. Even though like when you first look at the photo, you're like, oh, this is a very serious photo, and then you look and you're like, oh, he's got a skateboard. That's cute. I like this. So I love this. I love this image. Yeah,
that's just like black poster board that I folded over and set him in. Yeah. And that's like my wall in the background. The moon looking light, the crescent or whatever. But yes, now this photo conceptually is the dumbest thing in the world. And I'm like, it's still just so amazing. It even was, I think they were trying to play a joke on me, thinking I would not even win the contest. But like, it was just all these other photos. I'm like, really? This is the one?
This is the one?
Yeah. And again, though, when I was setting it up and taking it, it was like, all it was about was like the light, the drama, and figuring out what the hell was going on, you know? But I knew that the childish play to it could be laughed at, especially at the time. Like I was just discovering how hardcore a lot of the Star Wars toy guys are, where it's like, what? And that droid would never have a skateboard.
Oh my God. Like, that's so weird.
So weird. You can never be sitting in that position with a skateboard wheels up. It's like, oh, Jesus.
Okay.
You're like, oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, so, part of it was like a mockery setup as well at the time. Again, this was years ago, so I'm nicer now. But no, it was complete shock to me that this even had anyone look at it and be like, wow, this is really cool, and notice the things that were the only things I really was focusing on, like the shadow and the light and the smoke. That was it that mattered to me.
I love it. MJ, thank you so much for being on here.
Yeah, dude. Thanks for having me.
This is obviously been a blast. Obviously, we've had your name scrolling along the bottom, but I know you have other like affiliations and stuff. Like, what are some of the other things that you're doing on Instagram right now? Like before we sign off and whatnot.
Gun plus Chef, but I mean that's pretty much a dead space. I'm thinking about actually just turning that back to more of a personal page, and then just doing gun photos here. Like there's no separate. especially now that I haven't posted over there in a while. It's like, it'll 10 or 15 people will see it. It's like, what's the point of doing both? But I have also BC and Spuds, which is like basically like a potato and a carrot that are little characters that teach how to cook is kind of the idea. So I'm
very cool.
Do I have it here? Well, I have like a little prototype that I made of the potatoes. So I'm trying to do like a little play set and everything, little booklet and things like that.
So good.
The other day, my wife's like, Matt, come here, you have to check this out. And Netflix just released something called Waffles and Mochi. And it's about two puppets that are named Waffle and Mochi who want to be chefs, and they're traveling around teaching recipes and learning to cook.
MJ,
I look at her and I'm like, that was my idea. I'm just like, the drawing board. But it's actually inspiring to be able to, see something that actually is working, But again, those are
if people wanted to contact you as far as like dios or anything like that, like just through your Instagram, is that a good way to get in touch with you? Or?
Yeah, private message on Instagram is good. And then, the Chef Toy RD at Gmail if they wanted to email. But yeah, I'm pretty much on Instagram for the most part. And, it's, I don't necessarily like have the schedule to just sit and work 8 hours a day on stuff. So clearly most people I work with are understanding that I'm father also making things. But yeah, no, Instagram's a way to reach. And the thing is like, I'm not very good at, quite frankly, I don't find that Instagram is the best marketplace, if that makes sense. Like, I can post something and, everyone enjoys it, but nobody's like, man, I'll take one. You know what I mean? So it's like, and I don't do very well being like, hey guys, like I'm selling these, because I'm not like a distribution page. But I do invite anybody if they have weird ideas like Icarus,
like me,
Legion, or, I mean, a lot of the things I would say, like, if I feel like somebody can make it themselves, I will generally tell them how to make it before being like, yeah, I'll make it for you, But I'm willing to make anything for anybody, It's also really fun too. So hit me up, we can discuss.
Awesome stuff, MJ. Thank you again.
Yeah,
I really appreciate it. We should actually have a unrecorded session.
Hang out.
Agreed.
Mm-hmm.
Well, y'all, thank you for listening to another wonderful episode of the combined SBN F-Stop Rebel podcast. Truly a pleasure. I hope you enjoyed everything. Remember, please do not grow up. It's a waste of time. I am Scott, F-Stop Rebel, and there's obviously Steph.
Yep, I'm still here, and you can find me at Slag My Thrilla or the SBN. You'll see all the credits on the end, but I always want to say, just guys, stay awesome and keep it up.